Alrighty, it's the weekend. How's it going, everybody? Nice to see you. I got my greed dragon here, reminding everybody that this is a monetized channel. I have my enormous pot of coffee ready to go. I'm sorely looking forward to this. Hey, Dragon Lord, how's it going? Sorry I am 9 minutes late to this live stream, but nobody pays attention to my schedule anyway, so that's all right. Hey fam. What's up fam? Chris, Crimson Wolf, Anthony, Dan, Harlequin Hughes, Besaid. How's it going, everybody? You're finally online for a live stream. Yep, that's true. You've made it. Another glorious day on Tyrell, that's true. Hey Ricky. Those of you who are interested in my cup art, this is an homage to the Warhammer 40k universe, The Emperor Protects. I am a devout follower of the Emperor of Mankind. Is there such a thing as a living weapon in D&D? I would argue that a monk is a living weapon, particularly as their hand-to-hand attacks become magical, or considered magical later on. It's wet and cold. Yeah, it's wet and cold down in the South Island at the moment of New Zealand. It's currently springtime here, middle of spring, but it's snowing down there. So, yeah, extreme weather event. Hey, Horhath. X-Poison! Hey, Trey. Hey, Matt. Nice to see you. I really appreciate all your comments, Matt. I've been noticing you've been a regular commenter on the videos. I appreciate it. And I, too, like beer. But it's a little bit early in the day. It's only 11 AM here, so it's a little bit early for a beer. Plus, I don't actually have any in the fridge right now. I've got some rum, but yeah, that's way too early in the day for rum. Warforged. Yep, you could say Warforged are definitely living weapons. By definition, a Warforged is a living weapon. It's an engine of war. What's my favourite edition for D&D? Robert, it's always the current edition, basically. Other than that, I would say second edition was pretty good. Like, I cut my teeth on first and second edition, obviously. I played basic a little bit. I never really gave basic a huge amount of playtime, mainly because my friends weren't interested in playing basic. But I thought basic was a really good system, and I'd be interested in giving it another go at some point. And I also am quite interested in a lot of the OSR rule sets that are around. Dungeon Lord and oh boy, there's so many of them. Let's see, Labyrinth Lord, Dungeon Delves. Oh, this my mind's a blank. Also, Tunnels and Trolls. I played Tunnels and Trolls long ago. Just played it solo. That's one of the things that kind of defines it against Dungeons and Dragons. The origin story of Tunnels and Trolls is quite cool, actually. I think it was it was one of the first competitors, if you can call it that, to Dungeons and Dragons, where the author read the Dungeons and Dragons book, didn't really get it, and so he made his own version in the UK, I believe it was, and that was Tunnels and Trolls, and it's been around ever since. Well, the bell didn't work, but your hair's still deathless, so it's all good. Alexa, play the Soviet anthem. Oh, there is the symbol at the front. Yeah. So all of my past, like the past 3 or 4 live streams that I've done, have all been demonetized pretty much straight away, thanks to, I guess, comments and the written comments that you guys make. So if you could help me out, perhaps hedge around or use alternate words for things. I don't know. Yeah. I don't even know what's setting it off, honestly. It gets passed as soon as it gets a human review, it gets passed, but that first like few hundred views or so of my video is demonetized, unfortunately. And I hope that they're not just doing it automatically now, because that would be a pain. Villains and Vigilantes, yeah. That's an old school one as well. Oh good, I'm glad to hear that, new Madman. You now bring a trio of Neogi slavers into the Underdark for the players. Yeah, excellent. Actually, I don't think that is one of the words which is... I don't think that's one of the words that they're bothered by. Who knows? But if it is, the check's in the bill is in the mail for you, linguistically oversight. Axe poison. So today I wanted to talk about campaign building, demon ecology, Tome of Beasts, and multiversal thinking. In particular, how it relates to Magic the Gathering and the two different ways that I think Wizards of the Coast could go with this. Of course, we won't know until the book hits the shelves, or if anybody out there has got an advanced access to it and they just happen to be checking out my live stream, give me a hint whether it's going to be a separate multiverse for Magic the Gathering in the D&D Book of Ravnica, or whether they're going to integrate it into the Planescape style setting for Dungeons & Dragons. You've begun working on your character inspired by Doom Guy and Goblin Slayer. What should I name him? I've heard... Okay, you're the fourth person who said Goblin Slayer to me. I seem to be missing something, a bit of popular media culture there. So what is Goblin Slayer? Could somebody explain it to me? Save me the Googling. Oh, you can swear all you like. I don't care, honestly. As long as we're not covering, like, if we're not promoting any actual, like, demonetizable filth on here, which we're obviously not, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, then we need to make that algorithm learn that what we're talking about is not offensive to anyone. Because otherwise it's going off keywords based on politics. Now see, that name is probably going to get me demonetized. Goblin Lives Matter. By Doom Guy, the obvious choice is... It's an anime which caused a controversy. Goblin Slayer is a lie. Starts off nice and cute with a spice of berserk. So is it? It's an anime. It's a Gorn anime about a dude obsessed with killing low-level monsters. Okay. Interesting. And it's a relatively recent thing, because somebody said that they watched my Goblin video simply because they watched Goblin Guy and then it linked them directly to my Goblin video. Goblin Slayer is an anime where a priestess and a knight eradicate goblins. The goblins kidnap girls and do things to them to make babies. Oh, I see. It's a new anime that, from what I understand, goblins are these monstrous fiends, sexual predators, who are just unpleasant, and the Goblin Slayer has a certain set of skills who are a nightmare for goblins. Right. Oh, I see. Gore porn is Gorn. I see. There's a mod for Doom that dumps all of the InfoWars audio into the game so you can hear Doom Guy yelling about interdimensional demons. See, in my heart of hearts, I'm a little bit of a troll, and that's certainly my sense of humour. That would amuse me endlessly. Like Tenacious D having a YouTube channel, for instance, amuses me endlessly. I wish the quality of their animations was somewhat better, but you know, I actually bought their album. I watched the latest episode of Hot Wings, with Tenacious D on there, Jack Black and Carl Glass. Those guys are my heroes. I see. All fair Doom Guy, yeah, and his vitamin water or whatever. I thought what happened to him was ridiculous and probably criminally actionable. But, you know, I don't really want to talk about his politics. Just a reminder to everybody, the Green Dragon is holding up the sign saying that this is a monetized channel with super chats available. And I will live stream for food, including streaming for extra minutes for every $1 donated, if that's now a thing. Yeah, Jack Black is a bard with a 39 charisma, and he's got some wicked dexterity score as well, because he carries himself pretty well. And he's getting up in years. I'm surprised he tried the Hot Wings challenge, actually. That's probably caused him gastric distress for days. Yeah, it sounds like something I'd like. And before demonetization. Look, I honestly, these live streams, I don't earn a hell of a lot off them anyway. They get at most like 800, 900 views or something. So it's okay if they get demonetized. It's all right. I'll still work on it, you know. I do believe in YouTube, and I do believe that the algorithm is actually, in the long run, going to be a good thing. But we need to train that AI in our ways, because we are a niche. Maybe only $1 a minute if no questions is attached. No, I'll still answer any questions that anybody asks me. You don't have to. You don't have to pay me for that. Oh, talking of pay me, I just uploaded last night a video for the patrons. It's an exclusive video for patrons, so it's not going to be released to the general public anytime soon. It may be at the end of the year, possibly. And the subject matter is Iron Fang Keep in just near Mulmaster, on the border of the Moon Sea. A very specific question about a very interesting location in the Forgotten Realms, and it tested my muscles somewhat on my research skills for history. So it's like I'm not entirely sure how long it is. It must be at least 20 minutes, where I was talking about all of the stuff that happened, and yeah. So Iron Fang Keep has been a location that's been around for 25,000 years, over 25,000 years, or over 26,491 years in the Forgotten Realms. So it's really interesting, and it's got some very interesting tie-ins. So yeah, it's not quite a 45-minute video, but it was certainly a lengthy one, where I just ripped straight into all of the lore. And the research on that one took me all over the place on the internet. I went to, I even used the Wayback Machine to access website material from Wizard of the Coast that's no longer actually hosted by them, but it's on the Wayback Machine recorded, so I can go and access old articles. Part of the research skills you develop, as well as lots of. There's an article from Dragon Magazine. There was some. There's some module stuff. Yeah, but I was going all over the place. It's amazing what you can find actually. Because one article will say nothing's known about it, then you go to another article and they have a detailed exposition on something that happened there. I want dinosaur as my barkeeper. Funny you should mention Turkmenistan. Turkey is the site of the oldest structure, I believe. Oldest human-made structure. In this place called Potbelly Hill, which sounds more exotic in Turkish, so everybody calls it the Turkish name, but it's Potbelly Hill, and it's got this really old place which is like 12,000 years old. Hey, Gadzooks, thank you very much for the suggestion. That was actually a really good one, and it was fun. So yeah, I was happy to do that for you, man. And I'm sure everybody else will appreciate your question because it got them that cool video. So well done. You have used your special access wisely. And don't forget, you're not limited to one question per year or whatever, or per month. You can ask me as many questions as you want. I might not. I'll try and get to them as soon as I can. Yinogu. Oh boy, I've got to do Yinogu soon. I keep meaning to get around to him. So I've done Arcadia. I've got this one coming up next, and that one coming up next. I want to talk about living spells, for instance. Do another magic item video. I want to do a video on the Glabrizu as demons. I want to do a video on low-level player characters against high-level monsters, how you handle that as an encounter, or even as an entire campaign arc. I want to talk about dead gods, exactly what they are and how they play a role in D&D. So I'll try and get to those, probably not in that sequential order, but those are the videos that I'm thinking about at the moment, as well as a Halloween video. Yinogu is Bay. Really. What have you missed? Not a lot, actually. We're just starting to sort of get stuck into D&D talk now. You haven't watched the video about the Formians, care to spoil it? Well, so that one I'm talking pretty solidly about all the different types of Formian there are and how they think and operate as a species, mainly. So, because you can encounter Formians in all sorts of different multiversal locations. But the Formian video is designed to be a precursor to the Arcadia video, because the Formians and Arcadia go together, and Mechanus go together hand in hand. But I didn't really want to include the Formians in that video because it would have just blown it out of all proportion to be, you know, an hour long. And I wanted to make the Arcadia video a little bit punchy and a little more, and really highlight the fact that it's an interesting plane that's actually full of conflict. So it's one of the lawful good type planes, or neutral. It's on the cusp between lawful good and neutral good, and it's that balance between the two which actually causes a lot of conflict. And also it's one of the places in the multiverse where massive weapons of magical power are produced on a day-to-day basis, and those are provided to the forces of law throughout the multiverse, including equipping Celestia. So there's a steady stream of massively powerful weapons which head into Celestia from Arcadia, from the forges of Clackanon Silverbeard, the dwarven god of honor and battle. So the interesting thing there is that Moradin doesn't really, although he's the creator god of the dwarves and renowned for his creation and forging and smithing skills, it's actually Clackanon which produces a lot of the magical weapons of divine providence that come out of Arcadia. Nagas are from Indian mythology, that's true. Shout out to Demogorgon. Demogorgon is king. Can you have a grass secretly help a party to screw over orcas? Yeah, sure. I'll rarely say no to any ideas you have for campaigns because, as everybody should know who watches my channel, I am a firm believer in nothing being taboo in your own games. If it's okay with your gaming group, then you can play whatever you like. It doesn't influence my game. It doesn't influence anybody else's. Just be aware that when you're sharing things publicly, there are people who can't seem to logically disconnect different ideas from theirs with it impacting their game. And it doesn't, you know. What they should really concern themselves with is what the next material is that's coming out of Wizards of the Coast, and do their very best to stay on top of the writers and authors and things to find out what sort of feedback they're seeking from the community, because that's really their chance of influencing the game. Patrolling Facebook, you know, groups and things like that, and tramping on any idea that they think is non-canonical or against the spirit of the game or whatever, as far as they see fit, is actually counterproductive, because it's just deterring people from the hobby. What you want to do is encourage everybody's creative ideas and encourage the authors of Dungeons and Dragons to follow a more lore-centric line. It's what my character would do. Exactly. Hour-long videos are awesome. They are awesome, but they're also hard on my voice occasionally because I'm talking solidly for an hour. And they require, yeah, I like to get out videos that are fairly frequent, and an hour-long video takes me a long time to produce, days. But, you know, you get me interested in a topic and I'll talk about it for an hour. Like Demogorgon, I could easily talk for another hour on Demogorgon. You have an idea for a cross-class tiefling or half-devil that believes being forced to fight in the Blood War is not punishment enough for the wicked and evil, so he's going to create a hell. Interesting. Based on Dante's Divine Comedy. Oh yeah, the Inferno. Right. Well, I think, yeah, you're going to run into problems with that because it doesn't mesh a lot well exactly with a sort of a fantasy setting. I suppose you could wing it that way if you really wanted to. Yeah, the blasphemers of fun, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, play the game that you want to play with your friends. And if you want to play really risque topics or really offensive topics, that's absolutely fine as long as everybody at the table is okay with it. That's not a message that gets out often enough. People talk about protecting, you know, the feelings of people at the table. Absolutely, you should respect the feelings of your friends. And this is a game that people, as friends, are playing. This is a game of friendship and companionship and things. So a lot of the questions that people have are relationship issues that they're having with their friends. And obviously, you should pay attention to what people are comfortable talking about. You know, you should know whether they've had trauma in their life that that needs to be dealt with sensitively. But if everybody's okay with a subject, then yeah, make it as dark and creepy and horrible as you want. Honestly, it's a cathartic game of the imagination. Nobody's going to get harmed at that table. Honestly. Yes, they're always done in one long take, Crimson Wolf. I do edit the sound of me taking breaths, or if I cough or anything like that, then I edit that out. And I quite often, if I have a pause between words where I'm checking something or I'm thinking something over, I'll shorten that down. But otherwise, it's all one long take. I'm just reading off a script that I've written. So if I was talking into a camera, it would be me reading somewhat animatedly, but yeah, I would find it hard to do the same sort of video looking directly at the camera, which is one of the reasons why I don't do it. I used to talk into the camera all the time, but people were justifiably upset about my mode of talking, where I'd go and a lot. So yeah, and I was kind of mumbly, and my sound quality was really bad. Yeah, exactly. No players were harmed during the making of this session. Quite often, it was harm that was done to them before the game ever started. That is the actual source of the hurt, not Dungeons and Dragons. Have you watched Matt Damon do the Brett Kavanaugh skit on Saturday Night Live? No, I don't watch TV in general, and I certainly don't watch Saturday Night Live. Quite often, I find that comedy painful. Their skits go on way too long. That's just a personal preference. That being said, some of the classic clips, Cowbell, Shark, Graham, all that sort of stuff, yeah, there's been some absolutely amazing Saturday Night Live over the years. I haven't watched any of the modern stuff, as far as I know. I hooked you with the 3 adventurers who had it in for the doppelganger at Ironfang Keep. Turns out one of them was a guy named Bane. I think you've heard of him. Yeah. Yep, exactly. I knew there was more to that. So, obviously there was some big, long, involved story going on between those 3 turning up and killing that evil, that doppelganger. And, oh man, can you imagine the backstory of that doppelganger being from the Batrashi Empire, from the days of, in the days of Thunder, from the first creator races. Man, things that Minotaur / doppelganger could have told everybody. Oh, the history he could have written. What was that? I have a question. You say when a vampire becomes a vampire, they lose their soul. Is there a way for them to keep it like a soul gem? It could be forced back, or could they just possess to the? Or could they just possess to the vampire? Well, I'm of the opinion, I like the old school idea of the undead being no longer humans stuck in a dead body, because really, I mean, think about it. Could you handle walking around in a dead body all the time? Really? Think about it. Think of the psychological trauma of never sleeping, never having a normal meal again, never feeling anything, and just being overridden by this horrible negative sense all the time, so that living things just enrage you. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think a human soul could survive being undead and remain sane at all. Have you considered doing a video in a voice? You mean like Deckard Cain? Like a voice. My favorite ranger's favorite enemy is TVs. Nice. Not really. People tend to not like it very much if I do that too much. Like the one video where I was at, I had an imp with me in the room at the time, and people didn't like the voice of the imp, unfortunately. My gods, my voice to text is giving me... Yeah, don't use voice to text, people. It's absolutely awful. I can't understand half the things you say. And considering I miss so many questions, I feel like I'm doing you a disservice. Bend the rules to your whim, kids. Yep. Yeah, write your own vampire. Absolutely, definitely. Play the vampire that you want to play, because vampires have varied so much over the last 20, 30 years or so. Yeah, absolutely, Argonian. If you watch my video on the Soul Eater, I talk about that sort of thing, where they might actually be able to take a soul and transfer it from the Soul Eater, used as a parasitic vessel, take the soul out of them and put them into a Warforged body or something like that. Yeah, voice to text is not great. It's getting there. It's a lot better than it used to be, obviously. Yeah, I'm of the same personal opinion, Frame Razislav. I'm not a fan of vampires finding their way around the curse. Yeah. Yeah, garlic, coffins, running water. Whoa, nice. Thanks, Jared. Roll for family friendliness. Yay, we've extended for a couple of minutes. Jacob, I have a question. Do you have your own high-level mage PC that began as a PC but now is an NPC like Elminster? No, I don't. I don't. In fact, Jared, I just had a mage tabaxi that retired at the end of Jared's game last night, in fact, yesterday. That was a good game, Jared, thank you. Yeah, it says it in the PHP and the DMG. They reinforce it in all of the books. If you don't like it, change it or take it out. Exactly. They give you rules for alternate playing D&D in a future timeline or something like that. They don't have a Triton Mini? Are you sure? I think they might. A lot. So playing an aquatic campaign is not the mainstream of D&D. Most people play D&D on the land. And also a lot of people play D&D on boats and ships and things, or islands, and they don't often venture underneath the sea as a full-on campaign quite often. But if you have a campaign arc where that becomes a major element of it, then certainly Tritons can be an excellent NPC and player race. And of course they can operate perfectly fine on the land. So if you want to play a Prince Namor type character, Tritons are a go-to. Hey Michael Lynn, thank you very much. Can we get a shout out to the Red League? Absolutely. Shout out to the Red League. Hi everyone at the Red League. I love you too, man. There was some comment about censorship there. The Dark Master, I agree. Totally uncensored D&D, but eventually everyone has their limit, and the term unspeakable can find its own meaning. Nevertheless, censorship always stifles creativity. That's true. Like, when I was role-playing more heavily online, and I was playing online games all the time, so, you know, group hangouts and things like that on Google Hangouts and Skype, there was quite an active group of people who were interested in basically playing very hardcore subject matter. So they were playing police investigators of serial killings and things like that, and they had stuff which even Facebook didn't want them posting about. So they would play World War II games and role-playing games and like sex crimes and things like that, because they were interested in really hard, heavy, kind of brutal stuff that I was not interested in, and a lot of people would be turned off by, but that was what they wanted to play, and we saw nothing wrong with it as admins and stuff of groups and things, because that was their own agreed upon level of comfort. So that's what they wanted to play, and they really just wanted to do it. They were mainly doing it, I think, because they wanted to push the envelope and show that you can play role-playing games about pretty much anything. I've got nesting birds who have been denied access to the gutters, who are now trumpeting around on top of my roof looking for some access to nest, because there's a really nice area with no cats, and it's an orchard, so obviously it's prime place, prime real estate for birds. Hey Tracy, thank you. Nice. Well, we're extended another, what, 12 minutes. It's going to be a long stream. DMs don't have to get involved with players wanting to kill each other in game. I'll just have them go at it whenever they want to and go from there. Yeah, true. Have them kill each other's characters, you know, and say, okay, your character is dead. Your character's now a criminal. Or the other, like, if a player character, and think about this really, there's a lot of meta game thinking involved in player character killing in groups, because who would tolerate a character, a person in their group, in their social group, particularly a high risk activity like adventuring, where you need somebody who's got your back? Why would they tolerate having a person there who is obviously evil, who's killed somebody who they valued and trusted as an ally, who they would fight with, and beside, they would fight to protect that person. They'd give over valuable items and things to keep that person healed and up and running in battle. Why, if they had an argument with some person who's obviously a pain in the ass in the group anyway, why would they tolerate that person being with them still? Or, given the fact that adventurers typically kill people who kill humans, they would execute them. So I think it's perfectly reasonable for other player characters to step in and kill the instigator of PvP combat. And as a DM, you should just step back and say, this is entirely fair. They are perfectly within their rights to act in the interests of their character, and that's what their characters would do. If you are trying to kill another member of your party thanks to some shit you started, then the other player characters are within their rights to execute your character. And I'm not interested in role-playing that out. It's boring to me as the DM. I'm just arbitrating that your character is now dead. Roll up a new character. And also, make a little condition there that all of the other player characters in the group then have to veto whether that character that person picks joins their party or not. So they may have you may have a string of characters that person's made. It's just like they go, nope, we're going to kill that one too. Nope, we're going to kill that one. Nope, we don't want to have anything to do with that character. So it really does discourage people from playing Murder Hobos, because they just don't have access to the player character group. It's the player characters who decide who they associate with, not the DM. So that's certainly, like, let them arbitrate their own conflicts. Let them educate them themselves. As a DM, you don't have to arbitrate that sort of thing. You're dealing with the D&D world, not their player characters. It's their own agency. So, yeah. Let PvP players get the consequences of their actions. Let the other players express in-game what their characters would naturally do. A paladin wouldn't stand by and let the rogue or the sorcerer or warlock or whatever do an evil act and kill their friend, the cleric or something like that. They just wouldn't do that. They would execute that person. Really. I mean, if they'd kill a goblin for just existing, they would certainly kill an obviously evil murderer. Yeah, and also, yeah, it does cause problems. And you are within your rights as a DM to say, look, your character wouldn't do that. I've read your character's backstory, I'm looking at his stats and all that sort of stuff, and as far as I can tell, if I was role-playing that character, there's no way he would ever do that, or she would ever do that. This is you, as a player character, as a player, metagaming your negative emotions and personal conflicts with this person in a way that is trying to disrupt and break the game, and you're doing it in a way that's actually against what your character would do. So maybe keep an eye out when people are making characters, and say, look, this character is very, very much a murder hobo. Like, one key point is where the person is making a killing machine with very little backstory, and they purposefully divorce themselves from any emotional or authority or any sort of connection with family or former mentors or masters. The key point is like, I'm an orphan from a village that got killed, and I stayed with a family and they were very strict and horrible, and I hate my family and I left to become a warlock, and I signed a pact with dark masters or whatever. Well, you've got a character with severe mental issues, you know. So they're just poised to become a PvP problem in the game. And yeah. And why? It's more fun to have a character which is attached to the game world anyway, to have mentors and family and friends and things that can both aid you and assist you, give you information, which, like, it gives if you're stuck and you don't understand where you're supposed to go to next in the campaign, then that's where the DM can go, look at your character's backstory, say, oh, your Uncle Festus has information on that. You stop off at your farm, which happens to be nearby, a relative of yours, and they take you in, they feed you, they clothe you, they give you free healing potions, they fix your stuff, and they give you information which they just happen to know, which propels the campaign forward. And way, you're on to the next adventure and the next encounter and things, and your characters don't really have to do a lot of problem solving. So by making a murder hobo character, you take away a really very easy and good mechanic that makes a lot of sense, introduces a lot of really great NPCs, gives you places that your characters can fall back to as points of light, as, you know, homes away, bases of operations away from main towns and things like that. And of course these NPCs that are automatically associated with your character and allies of your character will obviously be better favored to give you really good deals on stuff, or, you know, they'll just give you items that you need. So divorcing yourself from that, setting yourself up in a position where I don't want to have to worry about backstory and stuff, or I want this character to have a tortured past or whatever. Honestly, being a warlock or a sorcerer or a wizard or a fighter is in itself a brutal existence, one that is fraught with tons of hardship, and like the hours and hours of training, the cuts and bruises, the broken limbs and things that goes into being a fighter, the struggle to afford all of your gear and keep it maintained and stuff, the struggle to not get involved in the local lord's petty squabbles or get co-opted into militias or become impromptu champion of people who are being strong-armed by local thugs and things, you know, that can quickly spiral out of control. All of this sort of stuff is things that just get glibbed over because people aren't really thinking about what it means to be that profession as a player character, or what it really means to be a wizard or a sorcerer, you know. Yeah, pranking everybody with pixie dust is the way to go. Having pink hair is no great problem. So imagine if you were a body with all the neurons and stuff intact. So when your character gets killed and taken over by the curse of the vampire, say their soul is gone, but their body remains, and the body still has memories. So they're inhabited by a spirit, a dark spirit, which now has memories of some former life. They have no emotional attachment to that former life. So they'll use what they know of all the people in that person's past life as an easy meal ticket. Because if you are, like, I don't know if you've ever dealt with severe junkies before, but they will use any information they have to satisfy their cravings for drugs. And it's exactly the same thing with the craving a vampire has for blood. It is their heroin. It is their crack cocaine. And they will use any association they have with other people to get more of it, because they need it constantly. So they may certainly remember people in their past life, but it's not going to end well for anybody that they knew. I mean, in classic movie tropes and things like that, what's the first thing that a vampire victim, some young woman, she'll show up in her burial outfit to her husband who just buried her and be begging and pleading to be taken inside, you know, and then dead meat. Dear diary, can't sleep anymore, but always tired. Can't taste food, but I'm always hungry. Tried to touch someone, but I couldn't feel the warmth of their skin, only the pulsating of the blood under their veins. I don't feel alive unless I'm sucking the life out of somebody else. Yeah, well, liches live a free. That's probably the best case you've got for actually keeping your former memories and things like that as a lich. That's really the entire point, is they wanted to carry on living in some form. So they wanted to be undead but keep a hold of their soul. And they go to extraordinary lengths. In fact, it still involves sacrifice of living things, because they have to sacrifice other souls to their phylactery to keep their soul alive, essentially. Otherwise they decay. See you later, Crimson Wolf. Yeah. Yeah, they really are. Just think of them as terrible junkies. Honestly, that's the best way of thinking of it. Ghouls have a junkie craving for dead flesh. Vampires have got a junkie craving for blood. Skeletons and zombies have a junkie craving for murder. Just killing anything. They don't necessarily want to eat things. They'll bite the neck out of something, but they just want things to die. They want things to die. That's what they want. They want everything dead. Because they want quiet. They want to just exist without the flaring flame of living things around them. The constant noise. They just want peace. They want to rest. So anything that lives near them is an affront to them. Ghosts are just echoes. They're not really sentient things anymore. They're just echoes of things that happened in the past. I'm not sure, Argonian guy, what that one is. You'll have to explain it to me or translate it for me. Soul, onion dip, or salsa. Yeah, do they target souls that are more interesting? So monks and clerics and things. Is that a better tasting soul to a soul eater? Who knows? I think it would be people who have lived a long and interesting life and have got a lot of memories. So wizards and things like that who have so much information in their head would possibly have a rich soul. I don't know. So basically, Orcus, life is noise. Noise must be extinguished. Yeah, Orcus wants everything under his control. And he wants to do that by killing everything and raising it as an undead servant. And yeah. So as far as he's concerned, that's a peaceful and orderly universe. And he's going to be in charge. And he sees nothing wrong with that. And anybody who gets in the way of that is a fool and an enemy. Yeah. So in the form of, like, vampires are imagine that you've created a hole so it's negative. So things pour into it and it's never filled. That's the whole point of negative energy. So succubi drain and take away the living essence of a person, and it leaves a hole that needs to be filled. And that takes the form of the curse of the vampire. There are, yeah, different rituals and things for creating different types of undead, for sure. If you have the Book of Vile Darkness, you can create various types of undead. And that was mostly written by Vecna. You can... The Chinese hopping vampire. Okay. Boy, they've got a lot of vampires. The one where the head detaches from the body and takes all the entrails and stuff with it, I think that's a Philippines... It could be Philippines or Indonesian vampire. But, yeah, oh boy. The Japanese have got tons of undead. And China has got tons of undead as well. A lot of crossover between the two different cultures with their different types of monster mythologies. Monk souls are organic, vegan, free-range, gluten-free souls of mortals. Paladin souls are spicy souls of lawful goodness. I don't think anybody. I don't think it's ever stated that monks have a dietary requirement. In fact, I would say that given their metabolic effort that is involved, they probably eat a lot of meat. I mean, why not? Controversial. What's worse than Vector? Orcus is worse. Yanogu is way worse. Duiblex is worse. There's a lot of things worse. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm starting to get a hang on what Obox Ob is as well, and I wanted to run some stuff by you about what Obox Ob is or was. See, Obox Ob, as far as I can see, isn't an individual. It's a conglomeration of all of the, I guess you could say, entities that would become demons that haven't manifested yet. So when they crossed over through the far realm, from the universe that they came from, they came through as a massive conglomeration of beings which were mingled and merged together. So their psyches were splintered and merged together in just this horrific existence of non-bodiness, and that they preyed upon each other to have some semblance of self. So they stole memories and identity from each other, and there was a sort of a pecking order there, where the stronger ones stole more power and identity and soul essentially from others. So their identity, their name, is hugely important to them, because they key in to anything which they identify as their memory, which is their name, their true name attached to it, their true identity, and they would steal it back from whoever took it from them to regain more of what they formerly thought they were, because demons never entirely sure that they're fully intact of their former self, because they have a vague recollection that they were once powerful beings in another universe that had ultimate control over everything around them. And when they came through, they got blended up with everything else. And the most powerful entity that kept them all together, so absorbed all of their, I think maybe the process was one powerful Obrinth absorbed all the others and took it over with him. And that is Obox Ob. So Obox Ob was essentially the most powerful demon, because it absorbed all of the power of all the other demons, all the other Obrinth when he came over. And his power was such that he seized upon the shard of ultimate evil and smashed his way through all of these different dimensions, just in a screaming rage, trying to disperse and spawn all these demons in the corrupted elemental form that they became. So yeah, and then when the Queen of Chaos then essentially singled out the controlling entity of Obox Ob and silenced it, she managed to release more and more demons. It was necessary to do that for him to relinquish control of these souls, so that she could create the Tanari. That's, as far as I can see, that's what happened, but I could be wrong. But yeah, that's my idea of what might have happened. So Obox Ob still exists, and he's basically the soul warehouse of demons. So you destroy Obox Ob completely and possibly kill demon kind. If that makes any sense to anybody. Obox Ob, well, originally Obox Ob was the father of, I guess you could say, of Demogorgon. Demogorgon was a part of Obox Ob. It was absorbed by him. And this is the thing. This is why demons absorb other demons' power. They eat other demons and absorb their power. So they steal the soul of that other, the self, the identity of that other demon. And so when you create a ritual circle and you use the true name of that demon, the demon then keys into the fact that you've got a piece of it, its true name, and it is drawn to take it back. Because, yeah, that whole idea of demons feeding on each other constantly. So that kind of explains why you have power over demons when you have their true name. But it's not like you automatically control them, you just get their attention. And Pale Knight, yeah, well, Pale Knight is one of the powerful Oberonth that didn't need to be absorbed. She just crossed over kind of close to her original form, actually, which is a form that doesn't make any physical sense to the material universe, any of the outer planes, any of the multiverse of D&D. So she causes madness when you see her. Wendigo. Yep, I need to do a Wendigo. Oh, hello to one. When stream froze has scary bulging eyes, would you ever consider it as got scary bulging eyes? As a DM putting in the penis vector fake or real for the lols? No. Generally speaking, not. Thanks for the donation, by the way. Yeah, evil lives on evil. That's true. It's the fastest way for a demon to ascend in power, and you can't really like Demogorgon is the key example of demons that he becomes powerful by absorbing the destruction around him. So any destruction, he is literally the Hulk of demons. The rotten member. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, Tome of Beasts. So clearly that video with the Soul Eater seemed pretty popular. There's a number of other demons, and particularly Fey Lords and things in the Tome of Beasts. And I do consider this really to be currently the 5th edition's version of the Fiend Folio. It's that good, honestly. And I can see a lot of these creatures becoming something which is included in later editions of D&D, if there are any later editions. Obviously there will be, I'd imagine. Yeah, but there's all sorts of stuff in here, including clockwork beasts, which I'm quite keen to get a look at. And there's different types of dragons in here, which obviously need to have a look at. Yeah. The Wampus Cat, Water Leaper, there's Treants, lots of swarms, and there's NPC villains and things in the back as well. Well, versions. So there's, what have we got? Bandit Lord, Black Knight Commander, City Watch Captain. I use that one all the time. Just this book almost falls open to that page. Devil-bound Gnomish Prince, Dwarven Ring Mage, the Emerald Order Cult Leader. The Ring Mage is really interesting. It's like a different type of Dwarven crafting magic. Elvish Veteran Archer, the Ghost Knight, Ogre Chieftain, the Corrupted Ogre Chieftain. They've got more of a Pathfinder looking ogre, actually. Looks more like a D&D troll, but buff as. He's swole. Scorpion Cultist. There's a variant Vampire Warlock in the back of the Tome of Beasts, and also the Wolf Reaver Dwarf. So Dwarven Reavers, bandits, which is really interesting. Not often something that you think of. If I could design my own Demon Lord, what would it be like? Probably like something like a psychic entity that just constantly shifts between one body and another. So it can disperse and then reform again. So essentially an entity that just takes over whole hosts of demons and just moves around, and you never it doesn't seem to have a central source. So it's a thought. Yeah. So all of a sudden you're dealing with a bunch of demons, and they just sort of like look up and go, and they all look at you at the same time, and then they start speaking in one voice because they've just been taken over by this psychic entity. I like that idea of a demon lord, because how do you fight it? How do you kill it? You have to kill all of its vessels, or keep it somehow trapped or contained. Trick it into going into beings that you can trap and contain, and then psychically block it off somehow. Demon Lord of Java, Demon Lord of Coffee. The original concept of daemon. Actually, the daemons are a group. That was the Ugoloths, the daemons. That's what they were originally known as. There's also some other types of abyssal creatures, or sorry, not abyssal, the lower planes. So I might have a video chat about them as well, because they get no love, that's for sure. Oh, that was Tharizdun, Danny Butts. Tharizdun. If Tharizdun was released, it would be a very, very, very bad thing for the D&D multiverse. Very bad. Yeah. If you become a patron of mine and access my video of what the Aelip was whispering, here's a hint. It might involve that. Coffee Elemental inflicts haste onto every creature, but also a powerful addictive effect. Yep. Jared does rock. Did Oboxob care about the other Oberth when he came to the multiverse? He may have actually just absorbed them to get the power to break through in the first place. So he might not care about them at all. He might have needed them to have the power to escape his own universe that was destroyed. So he may have just done it as a necessity, being a creature of pure neutral evil. Or I suppose chaotic evil. Okay. I don't actually know who Terence McKenna is. The new Tome of Base, yeah, the Tome of, what's it called? Tome of Creatures, Tome of Foes? No, Tome of something? Creature Codex? Creature Codex. That the one? The one that they've had the next Kickstarter with. Man, I wish I was more on. If ever Kobold Press has another Kickstarter, could somebody please let me know? How effective would a styrofoam golem actually be? If you set fire to it and it moved around as a flaming liquid plastic, it would be quite effective. Essentially an ooze golem of flaming plastic. That would be nasty. And if it had the ability to cool and then become super light, or, I don't know, a dense glass-like material, or if it could like change states between, that'd be interesting. A plastic golem. I don't see why not. There are naturally occurring plastics. Tharizdun would likely be released. Yeah, true, Jacob. If they ever want to just like reshape everything in Dungeons and Dragons, just let Tharizdun free. You are a rock elemental. You're a an office supplies elemental. Wherever there is a supply of paper, glue stick, cardboard, post-it notes. Yeah, Napalm Golem. There you go. They have a book on Amazon for pre-order. Yeah, I think I do actually have a link, well, back to their website. I don't generally like buying stuff off Amazon. It's just a little bit difficult over the side of the world currently. A neodymium golem. Yep. A magnet golem. Yeah, I suppose so. Or just a metal golem that can magnetize. So that would be an interesting effect if you're facing down an iron golem, like a shield guardian, and then it just reaches out its hand and locks into place all these parts, and it just goes woof. And if you have any armor on your body or a weapon in your hand, you get stuck fast to this thing's shield or hand or something like that. So essentially a distance grapple pull effect. Or a golem that can use induction. So if it grapples you, it can use heat metal on you automatically. Or even electrocute you. I see nothing wrong with that. Tabloid golem. This just in. Really? That's an interesting theory. A symbiotic relationship to a mushroom. I'd love to see his science on that. I mean, how do you separate? Ugh. Okay. Coal Golem. White Phosphorus Golem, yep. Yeah, that's true. Yaldabaoth. There are conflicting myths active all at the same time. I mean, everybody's got their own different creation myths and world stories. Every culture has got different gods and supernatural creatures that explain the exact same phenomenon that they've observed in nature. All of them have got thunder spirits or lightning gods or weather entities. A golem made entirely of hallucinogens. The pill golem. Ah, okay, linguistically oversight. Well, it could also have something to do with the fact that we, as Neanderthals, interbred with Homo sapiens when they came over from Africa. But, you see, you've got two distinct different groups of genetic derivation. In fact, you've still got people who don't have any Neanderthal DNA in them at all, and they don't display any difference in that. So either that mushroom was present in the Horn of Africa where the Homo sapiens first came from, because otherwise it was just available in the area where the Neanderthals were, then the other people wouldn't have any capacity for those things. So I call bullshit on that one. I mean, it's just logical. Duct tape golem. Are the Neanderthals in D&D? Well, some would argue that the ogres are kind of Neanderthals. But yes, I mean, in Forgotten Realms, there's certainly more primitive humans that are around. Cave people, cavemen, in older editions of D&D, where them being tied into the lore was not so important. So you can encounter cave people, or regressed humans, I suppose. I mean, you take culture away from humans for long enough and they regress to a pretty animalistic state if they don't have the ability to pass on information to the young. We are pretty hopeless, actually. 3D printer golem. Nice. God of Thunder. Yeah, man. RH negative golem. Dagon. Yeah, I mean, Dagon's got his own motives for things. Come on, bird. Dagon's got his own motives for things. Beholder golem. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, imagine if you basically got a bunch of dead aberrations and stitched their parts together, infused them with a bit of demonic oomph, and animated them as a form of vile, corrupt demon. Golem. Avocado golem. Responsible for more hand injuries. Your demon lord would be a living addiction. Sure. I also like the idea of a strange colour, like the colour out of space thing, which I mentioned in numerous other times. Neanderthal D&D equals RuneQuest. Yeah, RuneQuest has got an interesting magic system as well. A Dagon golem. Wonder if the Oberith would create a crystal of pure evil. Could the gods of good of D&D create a crystal of pure good and use it to knock the other one out? That's a very good point. If you create an object of pure good, would it be inexorably attracted to an object of pure evil in an effort to restabilize the universe? But in the event that it meets with the object of pure evil, then the object of pure good gets destroyed and you have a net negative goodness in the universe, because the object of pure evil was evil that was brought over from another universe. So you've got, essentially, it would restabilize itself with a flood of undead coming into the universe. Problematic. So maybe if you went to another place of pure good, like the positive elemental plane, for instance, and managed to somehow craft an object of pure positive energy from the limitless supply of the positive plane, or somehow managed to find the shard of pure evil and put it into the negative energy plane where it belongs, finally and forever, and trap it there. Because we don't really know anything about that object. It's my understanding there are over 2,000 different strains of psilocybin cubensis found on every continent on the planet except for Antarctica, and there's certain compounds in it that are only found in human brains, and this mushroom was believed by some that the mushroom was a catalyst for civilization. Still going to say no, because that would be a retrograde DNA which is not responsible for coding any proteins in the human body, unless you can prove definitively that it is involved in protein structures in the human brain that are distinct from other primates. Then I'm still going to call bullshit. But I welcome any... Yeah, go for it. Absolutely. I'll look into it for sure. Because if that was true, that would be amazing. That means possibly you could uplift other species. I mean, why would that only affect humans? Why would it not affect other primates? Because there was lots of different primates around at the same time that the ancestors of human beings were around. We literally just outcompeted or interbred with and absorbed other species of primates. Who do I think will win the blood war? I don't think it will ever be one. I think there are powers that be that have vested an interest in keeping the blood war active. First and foremost is the Ugoloths. So the Ugoloths will always seek to kick off the blood war once more. And the Slard will absolutely attempt to kick off the blood war again, because they thrive on the chaos and on the fringes. So their reproductive process is tied in with the conflict and war, which is on the periphery of the blood war. Absolutely. We do. That's true, Flying X-Blade. Yeah. Well, I mean, if the demons are taken out, if the demons are completely contained and taken out, you've essentially got a situation like Eberron, where they're contained. So they can't be destroyed because they've got nowhere for those souls to go. Essentially, they're just contained somewhere. And that would be quite a feat, because it's very, very difficult to contain elemental energy. Corrupted elemental energy of demons in particular, because they disrupt any physical matter or anything like that which is in proximity to them. So you'd need some way of separating them completely, so possibly putting them inside layers of extra dimensional space that have barriers and things, so they would be contained somehow. So essentially you create some sort of artificial Obox Ob that absorbs them all, and somehow contain that. I do have a Golem video. I did a monsterology video on golems, but I haven't done specific golem videos, which I should probably get around to at some point. I just don't find a heck of a lot very interesting. Like, there's not a lot of detailed lore on golems, really. Like, they're pretty simple when you get down to it. Hey, Fiona. Yeah. So yeah, it could be possible for demons to be finally contained and the blood war to come to a final close, and it may be that, and then essentially the celestial realm would be dealing with the infernal, they would be dealing with Asmodeus and the Nine Hells as an actual problem. So they may finally address the point of, okay, there's law and chaos in the universe, and we want a balance between the two, or we want things to shift more towards law, to create an orderly system where souls go on to create. So essentially, the gods want, the gods of light want a universe which is completely orderly, where souls go from being mortal creatures to becoming perfect creatures that go on to become gods themselves, which go on through out into the multiverse to create more worlds and more living things, right? So they want the cycle of creation to continue forever and populate the entire multiverse of different universes with the same orderly system of mortals becoming deities and going on to create more pantheons that create more life that stabilize the entire multiverse. So the object of lore in Dungeons and Dragons is to stabilize everything. So not just the spheres floating around the phlogiston. They want to essentially cement everything. And here's the interesting thing: since it's never actually explained where the spheres came from in the phlogiston, that could be the action of former super powerful entities that were actually stabilizing reality itself. So they were the ones that set up the whole system of deities and spheres and planets and stars and stuff like that in the first place, out of the primal chaos of phlogiston. So what you'd really need to do is look at the entities which are native to the phlogiston in the Spelljammer setting to understand the origin of the Planescape setting. Really. The mind just boggles. It just goes on and on. So originally it would have just been the positive plane and the negative plane and a chaotic border between them, which is the phlogiston. Really. And AO is just one of them. So AO could be the baby of whatever former pantheon came about before there was even spheres. Sphere golems, oh dear God. Yeah. That's the thing with Dungeons and Dragons, the scope of it is limitless. It's limitless. You can get as huge as you want. What makes a primordial? So a primordial is an entity which is is equivalent to, but not a deity, not a god of the astral sea. So the astral realm is where the gods came from. So they're beings of thought that are the will of intelligent creatures made manifest, so to speak. But they existed in the astral sea as potential, as ideas. So maybe even the primordials thought, imagine if there was, entities of pure thought, and then in the astral realm they went and popped into existence and said, why are we here? What's going on? So originally the gods didn't have identity. They were just points of light. And then they became what they are now, shaped by the belief of mortals that they in turn create to make more meaning to themselves. So yeah, primordials basically were the first entities to have intelligence. Perfect case in point is in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Star-Lord's dad, Ego, is a primordial. That's exactly what primordials are. Just an intelligence which pops into existence and has no idea what it's for. And so it has no real... nobody told Ego what he existed for, so to speak. He's this planet-sized entity that struggled to manifest as an entity and find meaning for its existence. And if that meaning conflicts with other living creatures, it has no attachment to those other living creatures. It has no origin in any sort of ecosystem or any reliance on other beings to survive. Gods are separate from primordials in that they need other entities to survive, and they can die. Primordials exist or they don't exist, really. Quite often they don't need any attachment to other living things. They don't need worshippers. They don't need souls and stuff like that. They just are power incarnate and will manifested out of nothing. Yeah, we were talking about golems before, Carlos, so everybody's still talking about golems. Carlos Golem. Dice golems. Dice golems are a thing. Anybody who's stacked up dice will know for sure. And there's dice which have personality. Everyone knows this who uses dice. There's good dice and there's bad dice. So that implies that the dice have thoughts and feelings. Obviously. Primordials are narcissistic, I suppose you could say. They have their whims. Again, Argonian, you have a wealth of knowledge about other cultures that I do not have. Shin Megami Tensei vibes. Yeah, primordials do fit very well into the Cthulhu-esque old gods, so they don't care about mortal creatures. We're nothing to them. We are honestly the mold which is formed on top of their old playthings. They're interested in creating and destroying worlds and creating devastating cosmic explosions for fun, for the light show. You know, they don't understand the value of life and death. So for them, they just come out of they exist out of nothing, and occasionally they blow into smithereens and they disperse into nothing again, and more primordials may pop into existence again. Time has no meaning for them because they're immortal. So yeah, dice are chaotic neutral. All right, everyone, we have reached our time limit. We've reached our overclocking of the super chats. Thank you very much. It's been a great stream, actually. I've really enjoyed it. Talking about all sorts of far out stuff. We always seem to get to the topic of gods and primordials and stuff, don't we? Multiversal thinking. Well, I did put it down there as multiversal thinking. So we did cover all of the topics. Campaign building. Using characters who actually have links to their backstories. Some primordials care, that's true. Because they find meaning in their existence, and they find meaning through mortals. Primordials who take an interest in mortal life are really great, actually, because they're not really seeking to take anything from anyone. Thanks, Justin. Thanks for all the questions. And Danny. And Linguistically Oversight. I'm looking forward to having a further debate about mushrooms with you. I love mushrooms. I'm a big fan. Thank you very much. Happy gaming, everyone. I'll catch you on the next stream on your Wednesday. As for me, I'm signing off. Ciao.